Good morning, Sarah, and welcome to Costing for Creatives and Ventures
Thank
with
you.
Vision. And Ventures with Vision is quite appropriate for today's subject, which is, of course, vision boarding. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Sarah.
Okay, well, I am indeed Sarah Lynas, and I'm a self-belief coach, particularly so working with women in creative businesses. And so often, like, we know we're good at what we do, but there's that missing bit, isn't there? That belief, that really deep belief in yourself, that core belief. And I'm finding this more, and particularly meeting with women whose children are growing up. Like, we've got these teenagers, haven't we? And you reach that point where you don't need to be mummy anymore.
Yep.
What do you do next? And it's a bit scary. It can be really terrifying, and I'm seeing a lot of this. So for me to be supporting, empowering women who are just ready to take that next step, whether it's growing the business, that's the creative business, or whether it's starting something up, but just to be there. I'm just going to share, if you don't mind me bragging slightly. It's not bragging because I've done it. A little testimonial I got recently from a lovely lady. She said, coaching with Sarah is getting the green light to go ahead and do what you need to do when you've been stuck on red for years.
That is lovely.
Isn't
and
that
you know what
fabulous?
else is lovely? I love the fact that you've obviously got that pinned on your wall.
Yes,
to remind you.
I do. I have my favourite testimonials up there. And my absolute favourite quote, and you know I share this with everybody who I come across, is, it ain't bragging if you've done it.
Absolutely. Yes. And I think we forget that, and we keep our success quiet, and we really shouldn't. It's really important to celebrate.
It absolutely is. We're often taught, nobody likes a show off. Don't be too big and shiny. Stay nice and quiet. Be a good girl. And of course, those messages stick, don't they? Better not tell somebody I'm great at something. Well, why not if it's true?
Yeah,
you can say this, say it. Why not? Own it.
People need to see your light, and if you stay in the shadows, that's just never going to happen.
Absolutely not. So I love my work, as you can tell. I love it. Absolutely love it.
And that is so important. And I think that's what a lot of the people in our group, they love what they do and they love their creations, and it's getting that way of having that more in their life, whether that's as a full-time business. Oh, hello. We have a little friend.
Good morning.
Oh my goodness, how beautiful.
She knows it as well.
Oh, yes. So whether that's sort of full-time or part-time, and enabling those little extras, like I know when my business was a hobby, it paid for the paint for a start, which was I couldn't afford it otherwise, but it also paid for holidays. It paid for nice meals out every now and again, and it's that growth going through. And now it's my business, but it's maintaining that light, that pleasure, that joy in what you're doing, and that can actually be quite difficult. And I think that's where having a goal, a vision of your life keeps you on track and keeps you being mindful of where you want to do and why you're doing it.
I think you're absolutely right. We do have cycles of energy, don't we? Whether they're monthly cycles, and I could talk all day about that, or whether they are, cycles with the moon, or cycles of just, we've all been on a roller coaster this last year in particular. So energy does come and go. We can't keep it high all the time. And in particular for those moments where, well, actually, do you know what? The moments where our energy's low and we don't know, is it worth it? What do I do now? Can I keep going? But also the moments when the energy is incredibly high and you're tempted by everything under the sun. I'll go in this direction, I'll go in that direction. Excuse me. So I think it's important really to be checking in all the time. I mean, we can all go off and find exciting new things to do.
Totals. I'm a squirrel absolutely shiny object person.
Mm,
And when my energy's high, I am absolutely off all over the place. And
mm.
it is really important to be mindful of that. But
Definitely.
then, of
Yeah, so
course,
you're absolutely
craft
right.
it even
Vision is
more.
important.
Yes.
I don't always have a helper. She seems to know when we're doing something in particular, and she's like, I'm going to come and help with that. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, you were recording. I'll just come over and just sort of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm. That's fine.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all real.
It is. So tell me why you think vision boards in particular are so important when we're sort of heading on our journey to a business.
Mm. I think, I suppose if you look at business in particular, if you
Mm,
were to get into businesses put together their mission statements and their vision and their values and their purpose, and they have a real clarity, often, like not all of them, of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
As small business owners, as solopreneurs, whatever that wonderful word is,
Yeah.
we forget to do this. We forget that it's a good idea to have a long-term vision, what
Yeah.
the absolute dream. We forget to put together values or purpose, and I think they're equally important. We probably have them in here,
Mhm.
but that's very different to articulating it.
Absolutely.
So I think at the very least, a vision of where you want to go that is verbalized or even handwritten is powerful, but having it as a visual, it brings it absolutely to life. So there's two things in that. One is the visual itself, right there in front of you every day,
Yeah.
as an output.
Mhm.
And part of the process of creating your vision board, as you've been through as well, haven't you?
I have.
And
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
through, obviously, is the surprises that come up.
Yeah.
And I say surprises, so we use our subconscious. If we're doing it, and if we're doing it right, I believe, use your subconscious,
Mhm.
and it reminds you of things that are important.
Yeah.
Deep down, we do know. So it really, really brings to life. And those can feel like surprises. And you think, goodness me, I've just picked out that picture of a giraffe. It feels really important, but I don't know why.
Mhm.
And, you know, so often we hear stories of people who've put something unusual on their vision board that they didn't understand. And 6 months later, they'll go, oh my goodness, that it's right there on my vision board.
Mhm.
So, there's two good reasons right away to have a vision. It really helps to bring up what's in your subconscious, and it does keep you on track. The key thing about working with your subconscious, rather than just sitting down with a felt tip pen and writing it out for yourself or cutting out the pictures that you like, is your subconscious is really strong. And if you're trying to do something that is going against what your subconscious really wants,
Mhm.
it's hard. You quite often don't manage it. You're failing all the time. You feel like you're battling with yourself, and you actually are. So
Yeah.
by getting into your subconscious, and by, I suppose you'd probably say, aligned, if you were aligned with it, then you would, it's just so much easier.
Yes, it's
So
getting into
much easier.
that flow, isn't it? And trusting your intuition so many times, especially when we've had messages given to us especially when we were very little, about the fact that being labeled. I mean, this happened to me personally. I was labeled as a non-finisher. I flipped
Mm,
from thing to thing, and I've held that belief all my life, which is crazy because yes, I do lots of different things, but I don't flit. I do lots of things, and I still consider art as a flitting thing. I've been doing it for 15 years. What constitutes flitting exactly? And I've had to re-look at this truth I have and
mm.
change that. And it's interesting what you believe when you're growing up.
Yeah, those things really stick.
They do.
really stick. And it's so useful to dive in and find out what they are. Again, they're quite often subconscious, aren't they?
Yeah,
And when you
yeah,
can start making them, being more aware of them, then
yeah.
you can start challenging, questioning, is it useful? Is it true? Do I
Oh,
need it? Can I
yeah,
change it? Mm,
precisely, precisely.
mm.
Yeah. So if people were thinking about vision boards, especially, where would they start? I mean, this isn't a session as to how do you do it, obviously, but just, if you were thinking about it, what are the things that you could do?
Well, for me, I mean, you could get on a workshop, right?
Yeah.
And of course, I do vision board workshops. And one of the things I do find, and that's not what this is all about, sharing this with you, but is that when people do come on a workshop, they say, I've downloaded information off the internet,
Mhm.
I've got some magazines, I know what I'm doing, but I'm not getting on with it. So, yeah, absolutely, things you can do. There are so many guides that you can get yourself a guide off the internet. Make sure it's one that talks about using your subconscious,
Yes,
because
that's
I
key.
think if you don't, you're going to be fighting with yourself. So do that. And using magazines. It feels like there should be other ways, but to be honest, I haven't found a great other way to do this.
Mhm.
You need visual content.
Yeah.
And of course, you can use the internet, but the internet works in the same way that your conscious mind works. It brings you things that you've already seen. It literally
Mhm.
filters it. And if you think of the likes of Pinterest, it's like, well, you like this, so you'll probably like this.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want to do at all. We want to dive deeper than that. And we want to get into what is there that we haven't seen? What
Mhm.
is there out there that we might never have come across?
Mhm.
So I always recommend to people that they either buy magazines that they've never seen, but to be honest, we probably don't need to buy anything, because you can ask your neighbours or your friends or your
Yeah.
hairdresser. When I will be back at the hairdressers. And you could gather yourself, 10, 15 magazines that you may never have seen before. And there
Mhm.
might be some of your normal ones in there as well. But by doing that, you're really allowing things to come into your life that you wouldn't otherwise have done.
Yeah.
And that can be very, very powerful. So definitely recommend that, just allowing that
Mhm.
breadth of visual content to arrive.
And that's actually quite powerful, because I've tried
Mm.
that. I've gone on, found myself a guide, which Louise sort of made me do because it was part of a thing we did last year. Um, and went onto the internet. And the guide was fine, but like you say, unless you've got somebody who's holding you accountable, I've got so many free guides. A free guide
Mm.
on writing a book, it's one of my squirrel things that's on my car park. A free guide to all sorts of things, and they sit in a folder on my one day. I might actually do something with it, and I never actually do. But the vision board thing, Louise made me. And I went onto the internet, but I was searching for things I already had in my mind that I thought I would want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I created a picture, and it didn't resonate. It just didn't. And so I parked vision boards as well, I've tried it, I've done it, wasn't really impressed. And you know this because it's then that I went on a workshop. It
Mm.
happened to be your workshop. It could have been another person's workshop. There are
Absolutely.
lots of workshops around. Um, and you sent me a pile of magazines. And this is the sort of magazines that the Top Gear was included in it, and a whole heap of scientific magazines, loads of things. I was just like,
Mm.
I'm not going to find what I want in these magazines. And I very nearly didn't open them. But you're right. It took somebody else to guide me and to tell me to open my mind, to flick through. And I was actually quite surprised at what came out once I'd let go. But often that takes somebody else's guidance
Mm.
to, I mean, some people can do it on their own, and that's
Of
absolutely
course.
fine, because if everybody's different. But if you're struggling, it really is an excellent thing to go and do one that's guided, because you just don't know and the very flicking through. I've got a Bentley on my vision board.
Mm.
I'm not into cars, which is quite interesting. I think it was the colour and the shape and the form and the
Mm.
feel of luxury that drew me to it.
Yeah.
How that's going to manifest, I don't know.
Who knows? So make sure you update us on that one.
Well, absolutely. I also have fibre on there, and people who saw my live on Monday saw me realise when I turned back to my vision board that I've just been feng shuiing my entire house because the last of my kids have moved out. Last of, I've only got two, but anyway, the little one's gone. And I feng shuied the house, finding a vast quantity of cutlery that's been missing for about a year, which needed disinfecting and soaking for a number of hours before I could wash it. Anyway, back to a full set, all's good. But actually, as part of that feng shuiing, I'd moved my yarn and knitting elements of my business into a separate room. Not thinking, just did it. And I just felt so much better, so much clearer, so much more focused. And I turned around during that live, looked on my vision board, and that's exactly what's on my vision board: a separate space for art and a separate space for creativity of the fibre.
Fantastic.
And I was just like, oh, that's cool. But subconsciously, my mind knew that. And seeing my vision board every single day, because it's so important to have it visual and you can see it, has meant that subconsciously that's been filtering through and I've made it happen. So what else am I going to make happen?
Exactly. That's exactly it. So, and I think, in terms of what you do get from a vision board, there can be some, very, very clear things like that.
Yes.
Albeit you didn't look at your vision board one day and go, today's the day I'm going to do that. It's not a to-do list.
No, it isn't. Absolutely not. No.
There is that element of, I think it comes down a little bit. Self-belief ties into it, but it's belief generally. And it can build on your own self-belief. But it's by seeing something every day, you believe it's true. You kind of, brains are amazing, aren't they? But you mentally rehearse it. There's like you see it, you're like, oh, it just is. And as you said, it's just there. It filters in until it's real.
And then
of course that
you see opportunities that you're not consciously looking for, but subconsciously you're going, oh, this is totally an opportunity to do this now. But you don't consciously think that.
No, you don't make that plan necessarily. No. I think that's part of the power of it. And then the belief in yourself that you can do it as well kind of comes from that. Well, it becomes an inevitability.
Yes.
And something that's just true. And if it's a true thing that you can create this vision, well, you can create it, which means you can believe in yourself that little bit more each time. It's just wonderful, isn't it? It is. I'm very, very passionate about it all.
I have to say, I never used to be, but I totally am now. And I'm a complete, as you know, accountancy background, A-type. If there's no science in it, it ain't true sort of person. But you do bring about what you think about.
And that's science.
Yeah.
It's neuroscience. And
exactly.
I think it's fascinating. And, I love this. And the neuroscience side of things completely backs up. If you want to come at it from a woo spiritual angle, if you want to come at it from science, do you know what? It really doesn't matter.
No.
It all has the same result, which is, you create a vision that you're passionate about and you bring it into being, however you want to talk about that. And, I think that, again, something you could talk all day about, but it really by tapping into your feelings as you're looking at your board. So for you were talking about that luxury feeling of your Bentley.
Yes.
There might never be a Bentley, but
no,
that feeling that you want to bring into your life somewhere in some way, shape or form. And it might just be like having a sheepskin rug on your chair while you're sat in the winter. That's just like that luxury feeling.
Or snuggle,
yeah, who knows? But bringing in those feelings and some metaphors, and oh my goodness, it's just brilliant. And I love to hear the stories that come back about, this is what I put on and this is what happened. And
Yeah.
you know,
The daft thing is you hear so many of them, but it's having it, like you say, there in front of you all the time, like your inspirational quotes, which are quotes from people saying how wonderful you are. And I think I'm going to take away from that I've got a wonderful email today from a customer who came on one of my Zoom workshops, and actually I'm going to print some of that out and put that on my wall too, because there are days where I wonder what I'm doing and why am I doing it. And I think something like that's actually quite important to remind you that, you know,
absolutely,
you are doing
we
that.
all need a boost. We all need a boost, don't we?
Yes. So what would be your key takeaways of vision boarding and this session, really?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Sue, I think it's that it can appear to be something very simple, almost too simple. It can appear to be a bit of crafting. You know, it's a half a day of cutting and sticking.
Oh, I can't beat a bit of cutting and sticking. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. But is that a business thing to do? Is that, you know, could it possibly help my business? So I think on some respects it can feel and seem incredibly simple, bit too simple, bit too woo maybe for some people, a bit too crafty maybe as well. And for me, the thing is none of those things. It can be a very powerful business tool that gets right into your subconscious and stops you fighting with, you know, your own self around your direction. And, you know, in terms of bringing clarity, self-belief and absolute focus, I've not come across anything really that beats it yet, if I'm honest.
I know my yarn thing was an accidental, but when we've worked together, we've gone beyond the vision board on, okay, to make that element true, do a timeline back to let's shape our business goals in order to us to reach the specific thing that's absolutely my heart's desire on my vision board.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
You can absolutely incorporate that into, okay, I am getting there. Realistically, let's go back a bit. What do I need to do as my next step that's going to put me in that direction? And then once you start taking those steps, it becomes so much easier.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, your vision board isn't necessarily, you know, as you say, it's not done, put it on the wall, I'm done.
No.
It's working yourself towards it. It's focusing on it. It's taking those steps. You've still got to take the steps. Right?
Oh gosh, yes, you still got to do things. The difference is, you know, in your subconscious what you're looking for that's going to get you to that next step. Whereas if you don't have that vision, that goal, that end point, your subconscious doesn't know what direction to take you in. And you end up feeling very overwhelmed and a little bit lost, really. I know that's where I felt when I was first started doing it. I was kind of like, I had an idea, I didn't have a vision, and I was all kind of spinning around in circles and didn't know quite how to make the next step out of that circle. I was on a constant roundabout. So it does help and bring that into focus.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much you can do with it. Once you've got your vision board, there's so much that you can do. And as you say, making that clear plan is a fantastic next step.
Absolutely. So the vision board isn't the be all and end all. It's the first step to creating your vision.
Absolutely.
You have your vision to create your vision. Sounds obvious, but it really isn't for a lot of people.
It's obvious once you know it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's obvious once you know
it. In fact, that's my key thing for today is you've got to have your vision to create your vision.
Yes. And what's the quote that I came across years ago and I didn't understand it at the time? We had it up in the office when I had my day job. It was, if you don't know where you're going, any path will take you there. I think it's from Alice in Wonderland. And I didn't understand it. I thought, well, that's brilliant because any path will get me to where I want to go. But actually it was the opposite. It was, you'll just end up going wherever the path takes
Yeah.
you, not where you want to go.
Yeah.
And for me, the vision boards really clarify that, because it is about going to where you want to go and taking that path.
And your choices become your choices.
100%.
Then they're your decisions, and you have control over where you want to be driven to.
Yeah.
Or drive to, not necessarily be driven.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, being the driver and not the passenger.
Because it's your life.
Yeah.
Oh, I've gone all tingly now. Sorry.
No apology needed. Fantastic.
Well, I think we're going to wrap up, because I think we could probably talk for hours about this subject quite easily. And I'd like to say thank you on behalf of everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us about vision boarding. And everybody, just comment, go and look up vision boarding, look up all the aspects of where you can find information. Sarah obviously is an absolute font of knowledge, and what we may do is put on a workshop with Sarah in the group, because I can absolutely vouch for how powerful it is. So
thank you.
Yeah. So I shall stop recording and see you soon.